Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to the ACH Automotive channel. Today we are taking a look at this 2005 Dodge Ram 1500. It needs a set of front brakes. So we're going to put a new set of pads, rotors, and calipers on this truck, along with new rubber hoses for the calipers. The first thing we gotta do is get this tire off. The lugs are 7/8, and these are the typical Chrysler lugs where they swell a bit, although I think this side is largely okay. Let's see if I can break them free with the breaker bar here. I already have the truck jacked up. So underneath I have a bottle jack, and then I have my 2-ton OEM Tools under hoist jack. So the tire is up just a little bit. And yeah, these are gonna fight just like the other side did. So the way we'll get these off, I have new lug nuts for this truck. The way that we're gonna get this off, it's a little unconventional. It's a 7/8 socket. So we're gonna have to send that home a little bit. This is why I don't like to use the impacts on these, but in this case I don't really have a choice. There we go. So that one's off. And this is why you don't want to send it home all the way, because you want to be able to get the socket off the lug. And obviously this does damage the lug, or the lug nut. So you don't want to, you're not going to be able to really reuse it. You shouldn't, it's swollen. And you'll just have to work it back and forth. And there we go. And so what happens is on these, well, these aren't really as bad as the other side was. You have a chrome plated cover on a steel nut, and so this steel rusts below it or beneath it, and it makes this chrome plating expand, so then you can't get your socket over it. And especially if you use an impact on those style lug nuts, and again, I'm using it because I'm throwing those lug nuts away. I don't care about them. But if you were to use a lug nut on them, an impact gun on them, it can break and damage the chrome cover. Pop our tire off here. Couple of things. I'm gonna get a little PB blaster. We're gonna squirt it on the rubber brake line, because I guarantee you I'm not gonna get that nut free on the steel line going into the rubber line. The other side already needs to be replaced, and the back is so crusty that I can't even get a wrench on it. So this truck's probably gonna get new steel lines, but right now we're focusing on getting the front brakes changed. Squirt a little up here. Hopefully I can break this side loose and not have to maybe replace the entire line. And then so what we'll need here is I'll need my caliper hanger. We'll just hang this on the upper control arm for now. And then I have two 13mm slide bolts here that hold the caliper to the slide bracket. So we'll pull those out, and they're pretty crusty. So I gotta work the socket over it, just like you see there. And we'll just work it back and forth. Not that it really matters, because I've got brand new calipers anyway, but trying not to snap a bolt if I don't have to. Put this light so I can see a little better. Just work it back and forth. This side's real tight. There we go. swap over to our 3/8 drive here. That's loose there. I believe these are the original calipers to the truck, which has about 140,000 miles on it. And the reason we're changing these, I don't think you can see it on the camera. I'll show you the back side of the rotor. It's pretty chewed up. I don't think well, I shouldn't say, I haven't seen the back side of this rotor yet. Excuse me. The other rotor was really chewed up because the caliper was not working. And the shop that this was at prior failed it for state inspection. So we're gonna replace the brakes. Let's take our little pry bar here. Actually, I want to take a couple pictures so I know how this goes back together, which is always helpful. Let's take our pry bar, and this is probably in there. Actually, this is the reverse of the other side. So the other side went in like this. This side goes in like this. Just loosen that up there. You being a brat. There we go. Oh yeah, that's real tight. These have not been off in a while. There we go, okay. So that's off. Yeah, those are pretty crusty looking. This is the front pad here. Not too bad looking. Let's see what the rear pad looks like. Yeah, similar to the other side. It's got a hump in the middle here. The camera definitely won't show it. The other side here. Yeah. I'll see if I get a shot of it when I pull the camera out. All right, so now we've got to pull this caliper bracket off, pull this rotor off, and then we can clean it up and start putting the new one back on. All right, so these slide bracket bolts are that hold the slide bracket to the knuckle are 13/16. That is on there. Those have not been off in a while. All right, that should be loose enough now to get with the 1/2-inch ratchet here. I'll clean it up and put the new stuff on. All right. You put that in your parts tray, that can go in your return pile, and now your rotor can come off. And this side is not as bad as the other side. You can see there's a ridge here, and if you look at the front, the whole piece is nice and shiny right through the entire band of the rotor. The back half here is only got this narrow band. So either the caliper isn't working correctly or the pad wasn't seated correctly, a combination of all three, but we're gonna put all brand new stuff on today. First thing we gotta do is we gotta knock all this rust off of this hub. I've got a OEM Tools hub cleaner, grippy bit here, and we're just gonna clean this right up. This is so the rotor, you wanna do this so the rotor sits flush so you don't get a pulsation in the pad. should say, you don't want to feel the pulsation in the pedal. There we go. Throw some towel rags down here. Little brake clean. Clean that hub right up. Now we're ready to put the new rotor and caliper on. This is the brand new caliper, and we've got to put our clips on it here, and I'm going to put the slide bracket on the chassis or on the truck. So 13 millimeter, crack that loose. Actually, it's a little less than 13. That's a different size than the original. Oh, this was, hold on. Yeah, ½ inch fits it a lot better. And they're not very tight. So, pull these slide bolts out. I like to mount the slide bracket onto the knuckle of the truck before I put the caliper itself on. Put this to the side here. So remember that tips up like this. That off to the side. Now we've got to find the right combination of brackets. Nope, that one doesn't fit there. And they have little notches in the bottom of them, so you can see there's a notch here and there's a notch, whoops. So they have notches in the bottom of them. There's a notch here and a notch here. My big finger is in the way. And then these clips are oriented in the proper direction so that this center clip fits in the notch on the slide bracket. So there we go. All right. So that's what it'll look like. And then again, let me see if I get something to point with. There's a there's a notch in here that metal tab sits in, and it's oriented. You can't put them on backwards because they're keyed appropriately. So now we can take this and we can bolt this back onto the knuckle of the truck. Take our bracket here and we're going to line it up. And we'll start one of the bolts like so. Usually I start with the top so it holds it in place. There we go, there's that one. Then we'll line up the bottom one. Now we'll take our 13/16 socket here and our ½ inch ratchet, and we'll snug these down. We'll have to torque them. I gotta go look up the torque spec. I think it's around 130 or 140 foot-pounds. So we'll snug this up. I'll put some grease on the slides and we'll put the pads in. I know some of these videos that I'm doing are kind of basic, but this is where I'm starting with the channel. Now that I've got the shop and all of the, or a lot of tools, I'm hoping to branch out more into the diagnostic space, but this is where I'm starting at the moment. So, all right, now we've got the slide bracket on. Let's go get some grease and put the new pads in. And actually, while we're discussing brake pads, this is the old set here, and this is the back pad. You can see there's a groove here. Maybe if the camera focuses on it. And if you hold the pads together, the back one kind of wobbles. You can see there's a gap here. Those should be nice and flush together. My finger's in the way. And there's a gap, and you can wobble the pads instead of them being nice and flush. So it was worn funny. I mean, they look like they're pretty straight as far as the wear. You know, if you had a pad that was cocked, one side of it would be more worn than the other. These don't look too bad. But I know on the left front side, the caliper, when I pushed it back in with my caliper compressor, it was very, very tough to get it to go. It did go, but it was very tight. So we decided it was time to put calipers on. They're probably original to the truck. Brand new set of Wagner pads, and actually, I don't know what brand these are that are on here. So I would say they're probably 50%, maybe 50% left. So she's got some mileage out of them. I take a little bit of grease here, and I grease where it slides on the slide bracket. Do that for both sides. I put a little grease on the slide itself. You don't want to get it on the rotor. I'll come clean that up in a second with a rag before I put the pads in. This brush has seen better days, so go get a rag and clean that up. Actually, I got one right here. We'll slide our front pad in, and the front pad on this truck goes in like this, so it kind of goes in at an angle. And then we'll slide that on the slide brackets here. There we go. So that one's in. And we'll do the same for the rear pad. A little bit of grease. And same thing with the rear pad. It kind of goes in at an angle. There we go. All right. Perfect. Now we can take our caliper and we can put that on. And remember, on this side, the caliper goes up. Oh, actually, hold on. Before I forget here, usually what I do is I put a little bit of grease on the piston face. It just helps with noise and any kind of maybe corrosion later on. And I put a little bit on where the front pad hits the caliper. Just a little bit, not a lot. And you want the bleed screw at the top, so that's how you know you got the right caliper. And we'll slide this in here. Is that being a brat? Oh, there goes my light. All right. Time to change plans here. All right, swapped out my light here. Let's try and get this bugger installed. There we go. All right. Should I slide pin back? And there we go. All right, so that is installed there. And now we can put our bolts back in. So this tab's got to go under that metal piece. So let's get that taken care of, and then we can put our slide bolt back in. Actually, that one's, there we go. And you might have to take a little screwdriver. Let me see, let me go get a screwdriver. Pop that in there. There we go, like so. So that sits in there. Now we can put our slide bolts back in. I should have torqued the caliper, the slide bracket bolts to the knuckle, so we'll go do that too. And then the fun part will be to remove the old caliper that's hanging up there. I've got to I got to see if I can break the brake line free without breaking it. That one looks like I might have a chance at it, I don't know. Set higher than I did on the other side because it was easy to get the jack stand under there. So the way I have this supported on my 4-post is I've got I think it's a 12-ton jack stand, bottle jack under the control arm here. And then that lifted the tire up, and then I have a 2-ton OEM under hoist jack stand that I set it on. So It's pinned here and it's pinned here, and then I've got another small jack stand there that'll up front that'll catch it just in case there's any issues. Off camera, I tried to get the fitting out of the rubber line, and unfortunately, it snapped on me, even with a little bit of heat and penetrating oil. That's kind of what happens on some of these vehicles up here that are rusty. I mean, it's really, really good in there. So, like I said, I had heat on it, and it was stuck. So, not a big deal. We'll probably make some new lines, or we'll put a joint on that further back so that it's nice and clean. The other side was just as bad, and the back half, I'm not even going to be able to. We're not even going to be able to get a wrench on those. Those bolts are so. Those fittings are so rotted. They're awful. I'll do another video on that. For this video, it's just getting the brakes done. I'll do another video on the line repair. So I'm going to take the rest of this old caliper out, and it is a 13 millimeter bolt to take the rest of this bracket out here, and I've already cracked it loose. And then I can put the new rubber flex line on, and the only piece that'll be left over here is to fix the steel line, the hard line, and bleed the brakes, and then this will be done. Not too hard to do the brakes on the front of this truck, even considering these have been in there a while. Let's pull that out. It's off to the side. Careful there's not brake fluid coming out at you. Brand new hose there. Clean a little bit of this off. And this can go on like so. Oops, actually gotta put that clip through the bottom there. I don't think the yellow one had a clip on it. There we go. Snug this down. There we go. All right, that's on there. And then this will go up here like so. So we'll take our banjo bolt here out of our caliper. It's a long banjo bolt. Oops. All right, so one of your crush washers will go on this side, like that. The other one will go here, like so. Then we'll put it on, and we'll thread it. Get that started in there. We'll snug it up with a ratchet. Go. That is a 12. There we go. All right, get that snug. Perfect. All right. I've still got to torque our slide bracket bolts, so I would think I got interrupted doing that. So let me get those torqued up. These lower slide bracket bolts, I should have done this earlier. They need to be torqued to 130 foot-pounds. I start with 90 and then go up to 130, just because I don't really like this torque wrench that I have. It's on my list to get another one, but it does the job. There's 90 on the bottom. There's 90 on the top. Let's go to 130 on the bottom. There we go. There's 130 on the bottom. is 130 on the top. There we go. So those are all torqued. Now you can see all the brand new parts are installed. We got our new rotor, pads, caliper, and rubber line. I bought brand new steel lines for this truck. This is the front of the 2005 Ram, and now we've got to figure out how to get the existing line out. It goes from the left wheel underneath the frame rail over here. There's a couple of clips up above here, and then it kind of sneaks down over here and around and then up and over. So there's a bunch of plastic clips that hold it in place and a 13mm bolt and a clamp over here. And you can see I've got it loose. I got to figure out how to pull it out. The new line kit comes in sections. I think it's 2 sections. So what I did, because you'll never get this piece out in one without disassembling half the truck, I cut it in the middle. And on the right-hand side, you can kind of loop it up, over, and there we go. That's out. For the left-hand side, it's similar. You just kind of snake it over like so. And this one's a little longer on this side, but it will come out like that. And there we go. Now the front steel line is completely out, and I can snake the new one in. I've got my lines here up on the bench. So you can see this is the right front, and I got these from Inline Tube, and they've got some real nice instructions, and the bends are pretty darn close to factory. So what we'll do here, there's a union that'll go between this side and this side. That way we can sneak the lines in just like we took them out. So I cut it roughly in the middle, and we'll sneak the new lines in. I'll put a union in, and we'll hook all that back up, and the front line will be done. While you're swapping these lines, make sure you take any of the anti-rattle rubber pieces and put them on the new line, transfer them to the new lines, because it'll keep the lines from rubbing and vibrating against the truck. We got all the components changed on the front of this Ram here. I just wanted to get the front brakes done, and we're doing the rear brakes as well. So I'll be doing a video on that. And I've got to fix the rear bumper because it's shoved in and it's rusty. So everything on this truck is pretty crusty and rusty, and that makes things fun when you're working on a vehicle up in New England or in the Rust Belt. So sometimes you run into these brake line issues where, and I cringe every time I do them because I know it's going to happen, and I try my best not to break the lines, but sometimes it happens. And even with heat and working it back and forth, you just really don't have a choice on a truck that's kind of this rusty and crusty. So if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up below. And like I said, I got a lot more content coming to the channel, a lot of projects. Feel free to subscribe and leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next video.